This episode is brought to you by Target.
Good morning. Good to see all of you. We went to Target, got a little crazy with the toys. We are talking today on SJU about some Rise of Skywalker reactions. We are talking about the latest episode of The Mandalorian and that new Onward final trailer. Good morning.
Hey now.
Good morning.
Hello.
I've got here today, I've got Eric, I've got Spencer, I've got Dan. Let's get into it. So the review embargoes have lifted at midnight West Coast, and the Rotten Tomatoes score did debut this morning for Rise of Skywalker. Debut score was 56%. Critic score. Current score as of this morning is 57%. Obviously, the audience score is not available because the movie is not out yet. Do we think this low score is cause for concern? And don't worry, no spoilers, y'all.
Cause for concern.
Are you concerned?
It's too late for concern. That is interesting. Dan, you could probably speak to this better than I can. Are the reviews going to matter? Are people going to see this anyways?
Yeah.
I think I'm doing the scene from E.T. where he's in the closet.
He's disguised.
To a certain degree, no. But I do think that this could lay these guys down here. Shh. They've earned it.
Yeah. You can finally rest.
No comment. I do think that paradoxically, in a weird way, this could drive some business to the movie, because I feel like that there's a certain contingent that if this movie had gotten great reviews would not have gone, and now that it's gotten bad reviews might go to have a bit of Schadenfreude and revel in the what to many was not a good movie, but it could also it's a very competitive market out there. Cats is opening.
That's true.
Yes.
Which I can't talk about yet, and it's killing me since I saw it last night. But,
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
4 o'clock today, right here. Cats. But to a certain degree, no, because I think the curiosity factor is going to drive enough people to at least want to be like, oh, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
And a lot of people already bought their tickets, right?
Yeah, I feel like no matter what, I mean, I think what they're predicting, like around 450 million for worldwide for the weekend. I mean, I feel like, and it's got the holidays. Of course, this is why it's so smart to release a movie, a big movie going to the holidays if people care at all. I mean, I think $1 billion is kind of guaranteed. It's just people will still, of course, hyper-analyze, like, will you still see, will it just break $1 billion and that's it, which would be relatively weak for this movie, compared, which is crazy. If a movie makes $1 billion, you shouldn't say, like, that's not that much, but it would certainly show a depleted audience.
Yeah. Well, and do you think, like, the average person who isn't online all the time is paying attention to any of these Rotten Tomato scores?
Maybe. I would say they would pay more attention to a Rotten Tomato score than, say, like, the discourse around, like, I can't believe that's how they did Snoke. I feel like a general audience is like, oh, I heard that one's not great. Let's see Cats.
It's interesting to see that we've seen more movies touting their good Rotten Tomatoes scores. That's become a thing, to be like, and now it's certified on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it's not going to be that.
Yeah,
we'll see if it's fresh. Who knows? It's right on the borderline right now. I do predict that I think that this is going to be the lowest grossing of this new trilogy. I agree. Perhaps $1 billion is guaranteed. We'll see, but I just have a suspicion that this is going to be the lowest grossing film in the new trilogy. Sometimes they do this, where it's big, and then the middle, because it's the middle, it goes that, and then you get to the end and it goes like that. I think it's going to be more
and that's been the other two Star Wars trilogies both did that. Yeah. It's like that's the thing with Last Jedi when people are like, see, it went lower than Force Awakens. It's like, oh, well, that's happened with Empire and Clones, and then it went back up. And I think you're right that if anything's going to change that, this would be it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reviews are out. You can see Dan's review.
Mine with Roth.
Roth. Yep, your review is up.
It's a half-hour non-spoiler review.
Yes.
So you can only imagine the fun we have in store with the spoiler review.
Yes.
And that is, the spoiler review is going to be, there's a spoiler chat coming out on Saturday, I believe.
There's a spoiler chat coming out on Saturday, yeah. And I mean, it's we'll see where this lands, but it's very interesting, this approach from Disney, because it feels like the first movie really hardcore pleased the old school fans of the franchise, and then the second movie hardcore pleased people that wanted to see the franchise do something different.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one may be the one that made no one happy.
Yeah. But I am generally curious what it'll be like when it really is out there in the world, because right now, of course, like right now especially, it is just like there's a very small contingent paying attention to these early reviews, I think, and as people really keyed in, because there are the people who hated Last Jedi who are like, oh, if you guys hated it, critics in general, then we must love this one. Like, it's just, but I think that's such a small percentage of people who are paying attention on that level. So I am curious to see, once this movie is out there after the weekend, what we start to really hear and what that Rotten Tomatoes audience score will be. I think it'll be considerably higher. I think like, 70% maybe, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
The prospect of talking about this movie for months, it's a little...
strap in, guys.
Can we talk about The Mandalorian?
We're going to.
Yeah.
No, don't worry. Call-outs is coming.
Good.
We wanted to make sure.
The last thing I want to do, I do want to say the audience score is because I do think that is a very small contingent that even do that audience score. It's like those are people who are like, I want to be heard.
Oh,
yeah,
If you log in to Rotten Tomatoes or any website to review something, you're a psychopath.
I'm not going to go that far. But it is a different system now. They have the new verified system where you have to prove that you
Which
saw
makes me think, again, even more so. It's like people who are like, this is important to me,
Everyone likes to be heard. Thank you all so much for hearing us and liking and subscribing. You guys are so good at sharing us with all of your friends. You turn on all of the notifications. You're commenting. You hit that bell. And thank you so much.
Log in.
Yeah, log in. We lied about the second part. You're appreciative, and we love you for it. We have a new episode of Power Levels out. Captain Marvel and Thor versus Wonder Woman and Superman. So excited for that one. That one turned out very well. Never Surrender, our Galaxy Quest documentary, is available now, as in right now, on iTunes. Check out the links in the description. Plus, there is an honest trailer for Galaxy Quest on Screen Junkies, so make sure you're seeing that as well. And also an honest game trailer for Pokemon Sword and Shield on Fandom Games.
Named all the Pokemans. all the new ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a lot of new ones.
It's a game trailer tradition. Honest game trailer tradition.
All the Pokemans.
I'm gonna stand Chewie and Ray back.
And so we've
thought that was like original trilogy Leia. Oops.
No, because she's got
the scarves.
Spencer, original trilogy Leia has buns on the side of her head. Ray has the bun in the back of her head.
No disrespect.
Oh, 3-bun Ray. So we are talking about we've been talking about this like all month.
You were the chosen bun.
Thank you all so much for giving us this platform. We like to pay it forward, and so right now we're highlighting an organization that does a lot of really good work. 826 LA, they are a nonprofit. They're dedicated to supporting under-resourced students aged 6 to 18 with their creative and expository writing skills, and to helping teachers inspire their students to write. So you can check out the links below so you can get more information on how this program works, but we're very excited to be able to show that to all of you, because they are doing some really good stuff. Now, let's get into it. Mandalorian Episode 7. The 7th episode of The Mandalorian premiered early this week due to the release of Rise of Skywalker, and so now we're going to do a full-on spoilers chat about Mandalorian. I don't know if we've got Dancing Joe available.
Dance for me, Joe. Dance.
But yes, this did came out. This was also directed by Deborah Chow, who directed Episode 3 and will lead the Obi-Wan series, which... Oh, that's so exciting to me, because she has hit these 2 episodes out of the park for me.
Which one was 3? Remind me. Episode 3.
Episode 3 was the one
where the
where
Mandalorian gets into a scrape and has to get his way out.
It was the one that it was the one that ended with all the Mandalorians helping him, because it was when he left the planet. It was the one where he basically it's the one where he decided, I'm going to go back for this baby, and I love this baby, and then had to get off.
Get the little Rocket Man scene, which was great. So, what did we all think about the show? This particular episode.
They brought together all the characters who had posters.
What do you know?
I honestly was not expecting that we were going to get a whole, like, the gang comes together episode.
It's almost like inside of all of these other episodes, they were building a narrative arc that would come together at the end of the season.
And also, internet... like you don't believe what IMDb says about upcoming episodes just because when they haven't aired yet, and especially on something as secret of Star Wars, it's not going to list everything. So there were people saying, "Oh well, this actor's not listed for their season. There's no way he's coming back."
Right. Yeah. But I know
there's a good chance he's coming back.
I think I'm about to get boomered here, but is a real critique of this show that like they don't build enough of a through line and like have enough of a like.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a contingent that it's like filler episode.
Like if it's not advancing some meta.
If they don't feel that it's like very specifically like here's new things to work with in the storyline.
Look, kids.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s.
Thank you, please.
With shows like The X-Files and
Xena. Tell the children.
You were lucky if you got anything close to a long-term arc once a month. Every 6 episodes, you get a little bit of the smoking man in the background. And that's all you had. You had to dial up and then speculate on some Zynga board.
And we liked it.
And we liked it. And we were grateful. Not everything has to be telling some super story. You can just enjoy this week's Mandalorian adventure.
Yeah. No, that's
stupid. That's a dumb critique.
And then this was that great payoff.
It was my turn last week. Spencer's taking the mantle this week.
Yeah, this was that great payoff of like, hey, all these cool characters. Guess what? They are coming back, and he is going to work with them.
I'm going to make a bold prediction that the mystery figure who walked up to Ming-Na Wen at the end of her episode is. I bet she might come back next week because
unless you
or
see
next
someone
season.
die, they're not really dead.
Yeah.
Except, well, I was gonna say a spoiler for the movie, but
well, that's the other thing. Inside the spoiler review, I know that those of us who've seen Starr, the movie, have to be even more spoiler sensitive because even for the spoiler warning, there's some spoiler things that we can't say. So it's very very carefully watch what we say because it's not a lot. Like literally, it's like kind of like one sort of thing that's like just I think it's just supposed to set something up that's not completely out of left field in the movie, which is like it's literally you could tell as a studio note. It's like, hey, can you put this in there, please? And they're like, all right. I think so.
I thought this was a really cool episode. I really first of all, I'm a sucker for Death Troopers. Werner Herzog had some amazing lines. What was his line about as we end our time together? Our narrative. Yes. That was great. And him, when he's like, well, I'll be very quiet. When he wants to open the...
Everyone will be very quiet when he sees a baby.
And also, don't leave a baby unsupervised on a ship. That baby can't drive.
Yeah.
Poor Nick Nolte alien.
I know.
I felt so bad for him.
Why did he leave the ship at all? Why was he off in the first place? Like that just seemed kind of like to leave him out there to die because he could have just not left.
Wasn't the idea initially that he'd kind of be the one really directly keeping an eye on the baby? It's like if stuff went down, the other two would be like handling the fight, and he would like,
I got to finish this fight, so I'm going to come with you. And then they're like, no, you got to go. You got a raw deal. Here,
he was indentured servitude for 3 human lifetimes. That'll turn you into Nick Nolte, right?
He just got peace in his valley, and then all of a sudden the Mando comes back and his stuff gets wrecked.
Screws it all up.
And all Giancarlo Esposito, amazing as per usual. Like not a super surprise.
Oh, Hitler! It was a Hitler mustache.
Was it? Yeah. Was it little?
Do we have?
We got
down the middle.
Is he in any of the pictures?
Do we? Yeah, he had a bit of a. Maybe it was a little extra. Yeah, but it was
like a Michael Jordan Haynes commercial.
It was.
Yeah. It's always a little disconcerting to see someone with dark skin with like an almost Hitler mustache. It just seems really weird.
He brought a new cape. A new cape to Star Wars for those who are excited by capes in Star Wars.
And I am.
I mean, say what you will about the new films. Say what you will about the new films. They really have given us a great addition to the cape legacy for Star Wars. Because before it was pretty much Lando, and then Vader had like a black cape, but it wasn't anything to write home about. And now we have the what's his face from the Rogue One,
Krennic.
Great cape, great cape. We have new Lando capes from Solo. Yeah, really, we're in a
and there's some people in the new movie doing some good cape work.
Yeah, if nothing else, we're in a cape renaissance.
Maybe Rogue work. It's tough. The borderline between a cape that fully ensconces you and one that just flies back is thin. But I'm gonna say
it's got to fly back. To me, it can't be this like snuggy thing where like it's on your shoulders. Like you've got to get some good cape flowy.
It's not to be cozy.
Yeah, okay.
Capes can't be cozy.
Fair enough.
I'm a huge Rogue One fan, but it was, I think the year Rogue One came out, I was at Celebration and I was like, this is adorable, but I don't know how many of these kids made this choice themselves. There was several kids dressed as Krennic. I was like, how much of this is your parents? Like, it'd be
Kid dressing like Krennic on purpose.
Like, as much as I'm like, oh, it's fun to see middle management in the Empire as a little kid, like, that's who I want to be.
Who do you want to dress up as? Ben Mendelsohn. Okay.
It's very talented.
I really enjoyed his work in several movies, including Ready Player One. And was that TV show the one where he was like the brother?
Oh, the one with Kyle Chandler. I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, Bloodline or something?
Yeah,
I love Bloodline.
We did a bad thing on that boat.
Can I be? I'll be super Star Wars geeky here and say I geeked out on the Imperial troop transport that brought the stormtroopers up, which was a toy in 1979, not based on the movies, that then was put into Rebels in animation and now has been put into live action because Filoni's like, I love this toy when I was a kid. It shall now be canon. It shall now be live action. Filoni's earned that trust.
It's true. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, and I like that it's, again, it's sort of what I suspected was the show was doing, which is it's building to, this was the first episode, and then this one, I think, were the two that have really left you with like a kind of a cliffhanger type thing, and I think that's by design, because you want to pique interest going in, and you want to pique interest going into the finale, which is next week, right? So I like that this kind of leaves you in the middle of the action a little bit, because that's television.
Yeah.
right.
That's serialized storytelling.
But yeah, I liked this sort of assemblage of all these faces that we've seen, and I'm glad that Taika Waititi droid is back and kind of learning new stuff.
That was the world's dullest training montage.
It was like
learning to serve tea. Get a little bit better at serving tea.
I taught him to hold a cup. Yeah.
With much patience and dedication, I taught him to serve tea.
He can carry a box now.
For generations we've served tea. Shall again.
All right. Any other highlights from the episode y'all want to discuss before we move
I was
on?
confused about the logistics of electric umbilical cord fighting at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't.
Why?
Did she kill that man? I'm so
No,
confused.
he paid her.
Oh, that's
Gave her
right.
$1 after a
And was
space.
that a Zabrak like Darth Maul? I believe it was.
Oh, see, I took it as, you remember in the Beat It video when they lashed together their arms and made them dance fight?
Yeah.
That's how I took that electric thing.
Okay.
Just like so one of them can't run away.
Got it.
Yeah, I think I've seen.
now Beat It stuck
I mean, I was going to say,
in my
I've seen
apologize.
chain fighting, but I think I've seen in movies that sort of thing. That it's like, that's the Star Wars version.
Yeah.
I like that it's like he undid the chain to show that he had been defeated, been bested by her. Oh, but then we should mention Baby Yoda choking her.
Force choking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yoda did something that made us go, "Hey, Baby Yoda!"
Hey.
First time.
Bad.
Bad Yoda.
I mean, you're still cute, but
Well, I think that was, to me, I knew he was going to mess up again because, like, when he took over the controls of the ship, I was like, Baby Yoda's, he's learning some stuff. He's being a little bad.
Isn't it all weird that Baby Yoda is 50?
Yes.
I'm 50.
I could kick and force choke.
Well, I mean, to us, from our human perspective, but to his species, not
Yeah,
really.
but also, this is gonna go gross. You sure he's not like one of those 50-year-olds that likes to put on a diaper and have people treat him like a baby? Are there gonna be other Yodas that we meet that are like, oh, that guy's a freak?
why is he acting like a little baby?
Yeah, that's his fetish. He likes people to baby him.
Baby him, he likes.
Yeah, baby.
They're definitely
Websites for that there are.
getting into the lore of it. I will say that they're definitely building up that this species is not a familiar thing. The people have been like, is that a pet? Is that what is that? So the fact that we saw 2 Jedi, but they wouldn't have been seen in decades.
Yeah,
so this is not a well-known species.
Well, the people in the galaxy haven't seen Star Wars. Not that many people saw Yoda.
Right.
Like people who knew the Jedi, which are few and far between, and like Wookiees.
Yeah.
Are the only people really that ever saw Yoda. So
I mean, they had an office, or a temple.
That's right. I want to meet. I want to meet like a pal of
restricted
Yaddles.
access.
Can we meet a Yaddle pal who recognizes Yoda?
Well, I think it's like with Scientology, like people know the main people, but no one knows like the underlings, you know?
Sure.
And like Yoda's a big deal, but I don't know that everybody would be like, I want to touch that little Yoda.
Right.
He seems reclusive to me. It seems like he wouldn't be like walking around the streets like, morning, good to you.
He did have that little floaty.
I am going to buy groceries.
He did have a little floaty thing himself in Attack of the Clones. Remember?
Yeah.
I remember.
Mondays I have a case of.
Which I remember them completely owning up to the fact that they're like, oh, we realized that Ewan McGregor and Samuel Jackson will be walking so much faster than little Yoda. We'll just put him in a floaty thing.
Yeah.
Well, plus they'd be like,
Give him a hoverboard.
doing a whole scene like this. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Awkward.
I like Yoda on a hoverboard. And finally, we're going to be talking about that Onward
Bye,
trailer.
Dancing Joe.
Bye, Dancing Joe.
Come back.
Come back. We love you. So yeah, we did watch the final trailer for Pixar's Onward came out today. We all got a chance to see that as well. The synopsis of that is that there's two teenage elf brothers, Ian and Barley Lightfoot. What a great name. They go on a journey to discover if there's still a little magic left out there in order to spend one last day with their father, who died when they were too young to remember him. So, as we saw in the trailer, they got their dad, but just the pants part of their dad, and now they have to go get the rest of him.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like we've seen this movie like 5 times before. We have to go on the road trip with the disembodied legs of our father to summon him before the 24 hours is up in a magical elf world. I mean, it's come on.
Just give us something new, man.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the idea of the fantasy magical world, but what if it modernized? Like, it's a fun idea, but it's also, it seems like a shorter idea. I don't know, I don't know if it's like a feature film idea, but I don't know.
It's a setting,
Yeah, it's a setting.
And you say that jokingly, but it is like kind of a formula for a road movie of like, I'm the shy guy that needs to learn how to come out of his shell and have an adventure.
Yeah.
Morty.
And
Shut up, Morty.
Pixar does love the road movies. Learning about each other and forming their bonds.
And also learning about how to deal with death, just like a lot of death stuff coming from Pixar. I hope everyone over there is okay.
I think that like I was also maybe unmoved or skeptical like when I saw the trailer for Coco and Inside Out and stuff like that, but they've proven us wrong so many times before that it's like the movie's going to be great until they prove otherwise.
My trailer reaction is really to the trailer itself, which is that I thought the first one actually set the emotional stakes up pretty well. This trailer, just the pace and the tone of it, for me was like throwing way too much at you. Like it was like, it just felt like you were almost overselling the movie to the point where it's like, the first one was very much like, here's the story, here's what we're gonna do, and this is. I think that's this is the times that we live in, but this idea of like you have to produce 2 to 3 trailers for every movie. Like, some movies just need one. Mm-hmm. Some movies just need one trailer. I know you have to stay relevant, but it's this idea of every movie has a 6-month. Not every movie. All of the big movies, tentpole movies, have to have a 6-month marketing campaign. I was perfectly on board as far as being curious about this movie with the first trailer. This one felt a little overstuffed, as if they were just throwing too much at me. Like they felt the need to show me more than they already had because they have to make a new trailer. But yeah, this is I agree. The premise is unique, but it is a very Pixar formula of like missing loved ones, finding
2 opposites on the road, learning to be like each other. But it's they should just label them like, here's the trailer for the kids and here's the trailer for the parents. Like I feel like this was the one for the kids. That's like a lot of pants jokes and like goofy sight gags.
And it's always funny to look back. Like Frozen is a big example of this because don't forget Frozen was coming out at a time when they were still scared of like advertising princesses too much, coming out of Princess and the Frog not doing great. So it was like all Olaf, the ad campaign for the first Frozen, like the poster. It was like, it was like totally leaning on like the goofy snowman. Like you would not know the central conceit of that movie for most of the ads because it was just like, make the 4-year-olds laugh at the snowman.
And I think because to someone, I guess a bunch of people are saying it feels like a DreamWorks movie, and that's got to be up to doing that thing of just like making it feel you put in all the big moments. Plus, it's fantasy stuff, and DreamWorks has a lot of like this like hard fantasy.
There's some Shrek vibes coming off the older brother.
A little bit of Shrekky.
Yeah, Shrek. It's a little Shrekky. And a big head, big old shoulders, wide shoulders, and a round face, pointy ears. Yeah.
It is weird how much that elf looks like Tom Holland though. It's like.
Well, he's a very elfin person to begin with.
He's a smooth elf boy.
He and Timothy Chalamet should go live in an elf colony together.
Has anyone grabbed that URL?
Smooth elf boy.
It's next to Baby Yoda diaper fetish.
Oh no!
Ooh, a lot of websites being grabbed from today's show. But yeah, so my initial reaction is I'm gonna see it and I'll probably like it. The trailer isn't like the trailer has me whelmed, but to your point,
they've
that's
totally their track record's so good that they don't need to make trailers for Pixar movies anymore.
Anything not called Cars, I've been a fan of. Weird that they have this one franchise. Well, that's not a Pixar movie. Doesn't count.
Exactly.
Not canonical. Not canonical.
Disney Toons, I believe. Yes.
Cars, the most profitable one.
Oh, of course, because that's how the world works.
All right. Oh, and before we go, we have got a junket that Eric did where you got to meet Willem Dafoe. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so there's a new movie coming on Disney Plus on Friday called Togo, and I really love this movie. It's a true story, 1920s, these sled dogs that were used to get medicine needed for all these sick kids. And if you say, maybe you've heard of the Balto story, maybe you remember the animated movie, Balto's in this movie, but you're going to learn about the dog that should get all the credit.
Oh, all right.
I thought it was about sandwiches.
It's not. Here's the legit. So I watched this movie at 9 a.m. It was a weird situation where we went to a 9 a.m. screening and then we did interviews right afterwards. Everyone came out of the screening crying. Because if you love animals at all, if you like have bonded with a pet at all, this movie will probably get you. So we were all like, how dare you make us go talk to Willem Dafoe? Like when we're all like,
He loves that. He feeds off of it.
And also, by this way, this movie looks really good. It's the first time, I watched it in a theater, but it's a Disney Plus movie. So I was like, I kind of wish they'd give this a small theatrical release. But talk to Willem Dafoe, Julianne Nicholson, who plays his wife. And I recommend this movie over the holiday break on Disney Plus.
Awesome.
That's great. All right. Is there anything that anybody wants to plug before we go ahead and get into that?
Cats review right here, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You better believe we're locked and loaded. The reason I haven't said anything is because I cannot say anything anywhere about this cat. The cat has my tongue and the tongue of every critic out there. But come 4 o'clock, that goes away into the heavy-side layer. And so you better believe that we are going to have a full review of Cats. There's so much I want to say, and I can't.
Star Wars in one day.
Can't say anything. Yeah, I started my day yesterday with Star Wars, and I ended it with Cats, and my brain went through a lot.
Roller coaster of emotion. Wow.
Hold Me Like You Did by the Lake on Naboo.
And yeah, do not forget that non-spoiler review with Dan and Roth is up now, so go check that out. Make sure you follow us on @ScreenJunkiesU on Twitter, and now get ready to watch that fun junket, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Farewell.
Intelligence, stamina, courage, and heart.
There is a long, rich history of Disney movies that pack an emotional wallet, but I still think people might go into this thinking, a Disney movie about dogs, and not really think about how deep and emotional it can be. What was your reaction when you first read the script and sort of saw what the story was?
My first reaction was, I want to do these things. A movie with dogs in the frontier, and another time in Alaska, this incredible journey of doing this heroic trip through terrible weather. There were lots of elements. Just it appealed to my sense of not only imagination, but play as an actor.
You see that storm on the horizon? Only one man and one dog can make that run.
I thought it was a really beautiful story, and I loved that it was a true story that we didn't know, that's been sort of tucked away while someone else was getting the glory. So that felt exciting. But I just watched it last night, and I wasn't prepared, having read the script, having filmed it. I was not prepared to be as walloped as I was by the emotional journey of Leonard and Togo.
He's 12 years old. He's too old. He'll never make that distance.
Got one more in you, pup.
I'm a dog person, love dogs, but dogs are unpredictable. So what was it like to film with a bunch of dogs in this film? And I'm guessing never quite knowing what you're going to get every day.
You want your scene partners to be in the moment, and these dogs are very much that.
Right, lots of improvising. Yeah.
It's, it requires patience sometimes, because the truth is, the most difficult things are the simplest things. Things like standing still and paying attention and listening.
And eye contact.
These are challenges.
What does he bring to the breed?
The heart of a survivor.
You said how reading the script, the sledding and all that appealed to you. Was it a physically challenging movie to make, though? Because watching it, those action scenes too are very suspenseful. What was it like to do those?
When I was first learning, the first thing that I learned was, if you lose the sled, don't let go, because we'll never find the dogs again. They'll keep running.
All right, Togo. Time for us to find out who we are.
It's so cold, also. I mean, those temperatures and you being up there in the mountains was like, with altitude and the temperatures.
Yeah, but we had fun because every day was different, and there was kind of camaraderie, and we had a very tough crew that, approached it, like mountaineers sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, the schedule, everything was dependent on weather. So we were always kind of playing it by ear. No day, you couldn't plan out exactly how things were going to go. It was very challenging.
I got it, Togo!
This holiday, the toys of a generation of Star Wars fans come home. Explore a whole galaxy of Star Wars toys available at Target.